Boom! And we are live. What is up, my guys? Got to get the light because you know you got to be able to see because it ain't too bright. Shit. I'm talking about the brand. I'm talking about the skin type shit. Anyways, we have a lot to go through today. Got 3 videos that I want to watch, but we might not get to the third one, but that's okay because it's not that too important. It's about bitches. It's the least important thing we need to be worried about. So, we got a Andew Tate versus Sneako. I want to say I like Sneako's opinion, even though Sneako really does irritate me sometimes. He's like how old is Sneako? He's like a brother. He's like a brother the same age. Yeah, see, he's 1 year younger than me. He's like a bro to say, like he's like I don't want to call him little bro because I don't want to little bro him because I don't know the nigga. But that's just how it feels. It's like he's like the little brother who is always inquisitive about everything and always questioning shit, which is why I kind of like him and then don't like him at the same time. It comes to a point where sometimes it be disingenuous and sometimes it's like um he doesn't really want the answer. He just wants his answer to be right. So like I said, I like Sneako. He's like a annoying little brother, but that's good. But with Andrew and the problem, not the problem, but the discourse that they're having is that Andrew likes that America invaded Venezuela, and I can understand why he would like that because it does keep our hegemony in the West more a little bit. It keeps us up there a little bit longer, but in reality, I feel like it hurts us in the long run because again, we're already shitting on the people in the Middle East. The uh Europe doesn't like us. Africa isn't too fond of us. The Asians ain't too fond. You see what I'm saying? So it's like the more people we piss off, the more people who aren't gonna like us, and the more people who are going to not care if we do start getting attacked by everybody. So with that being said, I with this in this situation, I definitely agree with Sneako and why we shouldn't have done that with Venezuela. We know what we need to do to fix our economy and our country. We know what we need to do, and we're doing everything but that. So we're gonna watch that video, and because I watched a little bit of it, but I was like, stream really gotta watch this because this is a good. I like this. I like this conversation. Even though, like I said, Andrew Tate has always been like a uh he's like the tough older brother type shit. Like so it's like I get why he is saying like I understand the short term good effects because we suck right now, but like I said, the long term effects is what we really need to be worried about. But yeah, let's get right into this shit.
The bitch shaking it, showing it. You this, you that. We laughing at them together.
Oh!
So stop treating these mother like they mean something.
Let's go to TikTok. All right, now let's get right into this Sneako video and see what they are talking, what he is replying to now. But yeah, that was just the gist of the beginning of it. Was that basically Tate says that might is right, and Sneako's basically like, well, when they grabbed you up and said you did this, they were right in what they did because you're saying might is right, so they should be able to do whatever they want. Basically, is what Andrew Tate is basically saying. Since we have the might, we should be able to go snatch the oil. Sneako's like, if since that's the case, then you shouldn't be mad with the Matrix and how they treat you because they have the might, if that makes sense. So like, I'm kind of with, like I said, I agree with Sneako.
As if we haven't deposed the leader of every fucking South American nation since there's been fucking elections, bruv. That's all we ever fucking do. That's why you get to live in New York. In your big ass fucking building. Dumbass. But because we used a helicopter this time, he wants to cry about it. Instead of election rigging and dollars, which is how we normally do things.
So he's saying the reason I get to live in the reason I'm a dumbass who lives in my nice building in New York is because of all the regime change in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, that's like basically he's like, we get to live in this good America because America is just such a piece of shit, and they do whatever they want, and it's like, sure, how long does that work though? How long does that work? I get it, but how long does just doing whatever you want? Like, that's what, guys, if you don't think niggas go to sleep thinking about coming to America and blowing some shit up or destroying some shit or finishing America or hate, like, why don't you guys, like, why don't people think like, and that's why, like, I don't, even when it comes to real life, like, I don't try to go out my way to bother anybody or like disturb people in a sense to where, like, I'm making them angry, because you don't understand how evil some people can get. You don't understand how much hatred people can hold inside of them. So for something to happen to them, they could be thinking about that shit for the rest of their life. Like, I don't like, and that's why I don't want it to make it seem like a movie, because it's not a movie. Yeah, kill his brother. Guess what the little brother doing? He's sleeping at night doing. He thinking about the nigga who killed his brother all his life. He's sleeping at night all night doing that shit. So it's like, that's how the world sees us. They see us stomping on niggas, doing whatever the fuck we want to do, and they're like, I don't know if we can really trust this to last any longer, because they stomping on my neck. They doing, and when I stomp on somebody's neck, they get mad. So it's, you can't stomp on everybody's neck and then stop other people from stomping on necks, because now you're a hypocrite.
In Brazil and in Chile and all the sanctions, this is not what is protecting the interest of America. Look on a grander scale. Venezuela has connections to Iran, to Hezbollah. You saw what Netanyahu said. He's very happy that Venezuela was invaded because they have terrorists. The terrorists in Venezuela, they're going to come into America. Regulated? Why is it regulated? This is not for the interest of America. These people aren't posing a threat to our country. They're posing a threat to Israel.
You can't defend yourself. Might makes right. Give me your fucking oil. And he said no.
And even if they don't pose a threat to Israel, the only way Israel survives is if we do. So of course they are gonna want us to invade and get the oil so that they can get, so that they know that their supply won't, because they only live off of us. So they know that their supply won't be dead if we go get this shit.
Might makes right. So then should you still complain
I bet you they didn't send no IDF soldiers to help.
about being arrested unfairly? If might makes right, then
What if I could build an app that works my way?
wasn't that fair that they raided your house and put you in jail? They were stronger than you. They have more guns than you. They threw you in a cell. Might makes right. It was completely just. It wasn't this unfair Matrix attack. The Matrix was right. The Matrix is stronger. They got you. What's the difference?
So what we did is we called all of his military generals and gave them money, and they turned off their...
Also, the inconsistent part of this is the fact that Andew Tate was saying free Palestine.
Allahu Akbar!
If might makes right, Israel should continue stopping Palestine. They should take the West Bank. They should obliterate Gaza and put up Trump hotels. We're going to put up Trump hotels on Gaza Strip. Why aren't you for that? Trump's for that. You act like you're part of Trump's cabinet. What he wants to do is put golden hotels on the beaches of Gaza and eradicate and ethnic cleanse everybody that lives there. But you were saying free Palestine. What was that about? If might makes right, then Israel should expand, put greater Israel all over the Middle East like they want to. Because saying free Palestine is the liberal crybaby commie position that you're attacking me of. It's unfair. They have the stronger military. They have the missiles. They have the nukes. They have the capability to completely genocide the Palestinian people. But you said free Palestine. But you're also saying might makes right. So whose side are you on?
And Jason Hinkle, who I actually respect and like.
It's Jackson Hinkle. This is... Yo, Jackson, bro. Jackson Hinkle. Why is he saying we? Yeah, I don't know.
And some other people who I respect and like don't seem to understand that there is no point
Yo, isn't that insane? People like Jackson Hinkle and so many other people on Twitter have the exact same take. And he's like, I respect it like them, but Sneako's a crybaby dumbass making artsy fartsy. I had the same opinion as everybody else was anti-war. Other people, everyone else. I like Jason Hinkle. I like Jason Kirkland.
If the regime
No, we're a Sneako W right here.
itself is prepared to betray.
Watch what happens when you
Jesus
block
Christ, bro.
from your scalp. Day 1, nothing visible yet.
What's funny about this too is that he's completely going with against what his brother said. Tristan Tate replied when Andrew was tweeting at me saying, "Oh, you don't know anything about the world." Just like, "Hey, don't reply to him. Don't reply to him. We're gonna do a millionaire party. I'm a man of my word." But Sneako is gonna do a bunch of content about this on his podcast. And Tate said, "Fuck it. I'm doing a whole show about Sneako. That snarky fuck." Bro, your brother told you not to do this, man. And it wasn't just a tweet. He did a whole fucking show. And Tristan's like, please don't. I'm a man of my word. He's going to do a podcast.
So what the fuck sense does it make for us Westerners to say, yes, that's a good move for America, but no, we shouldn't do it, even though they're all a den of fucking vipers and treacherous snakes anyway? If they're going to act that way, we're going to exploit it because this is fucking America.
Okay, so you got rid of your moral argument, and now you're saying that they're all treacherous snakes. Okay, well then why don't you apply that logic with the Epstein files with the American government? You're aware what the Epstein operation was about. You're well aware that it had Mossad connection. You know that it was a blackmail honeypot operation to compromise the entire government, to get the elites and to get people of power in America to show undying allegiance to Israel. Undeniably, I think most Americans can accept that Epstein was working for Israel, was working for Mossad. The Mossad connection with Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell, Ehud Barak visiting his estate in Manhattan. Come on. You think this guy was working alone? He was a billionaire from what? He was financed by Les Wexner. So you're going to say that they're treacherous snakes? Then, all right, South American presidents are all treacherous because they don't listen to the central bank system that wants to tell them everything and how to operate and how to run their country. If they're treacherous snakes, then what does that make the United States government? What does that make the hidden Epstein files? Dan Bongino, like the biggest streamer on Rumble, he left Rumble as a podcaster to become the FBI director. His whole platform was talking about how Epstein didn't kill himself. Dan Bongino was the guy, Epstein. He didn't kill, trying to expose it. Then he becomes the FBI director. Then we get the list, and it's all redacted, black lines everywhere. Then he leaves the FBI, and he comes back to podcasting. And now he seems like he forgot everything he said. He seems like he changed his entire mind about Epstein right in front of our faces.
And in the world we live in, everyone's trying to take everyone else's shit. People forget that. People forget we're trying to take each other's shit. Because if you live in the West, you live in a
Because we're bottom of the barrel, or we don't want to be the ones that can be overran or destroyed. So it's like a tug of war, because it's like you kind of have to do things that you don't want to do to stay in the top power. And then again, it's like you don't want to do these things because they still make you look bad. It's a big tug of war.
Us and doesn't affect you.
We don't live in a forever war. It's quite nice where I live.
Maybe I'm being redundant. He's saying, okay, we live in a forever war. That's obviously bad. That's obviously wrong. Why are you supporting it? That shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be in this state. How are you escaping the matrix by supporting it exactly?
I just don't like soldiers dying in wars, or people dying in general, but especially American soldiers. Like, that's what I don't want happening. So that's why I'm really anti-war, because dying is pointless. Because if we just send, like, they're like I'm telling you, it's just the act of war now in the modern times is really just pointless.
The Matrix is that system that keeps us in a war forever, in an arms race, in a Cold War, constant sanctions, proxy wars. This is what keeps the average person broke. That 70% of the budget goes to fund this and doesn't go towards the housing crisis or healthcare. This is why there's a matrix. This is why there are slaves. This is why people don't make it. And now you're saying it's good? Now you're excited about it? Now you want more of it? And go to Greenland, go to Colombia, go to Cuba, take it over at all. What was your whole platform about then?
So if you live in Germany or France or America.
No, you know what this does? U.S. invading Venezuela allows Israel to strike Iran. Because right now, what Iran could do, the threat that they have is the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has a lot of oil, and they provide a lot of oil to Europe. And so the reason so many people are against a war in Iran, because Israel is dying. They're dying to bomb Iran. They hate Iran. They want everybody to think they're terrorists. They want to strike. That's one of the last major strongholds that pose a threat towards Israel and their dominance in the Middle East. The last one is Iran. Syria, Libya, Iraq, all of it. They're all crumbled, all regime change all over. Now that the U.S. has access to more oil, it allows that strike to happen in Iran. And best believe in the next coming weeks or months, and come back to this when it happens, Israel is going to strike Iran. Now they can do it. Why do you think Netanyahu's just visiting Mar-a-Lago and Hegseth, the Secretary of War, showing pictures with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of War, Trump? He was at the New Year's party. He was telling them, do it. Get it done. Good boy. The opportunity's there. Israel can strike Iran now, because now they can supplement that oil loss.
Because the laws which are imposed upon us are backed by a threat of violence. Obey the law, or we send the police.
Okay, so then go to jail. Then go to jail and stop saying that the Matrix attacked you. Obey. Sit in the jail cell. They can control you. They were able to arrest you. They could do what they want. When you say might is right, when you submit to this, when you disregard any sense of morality, you realize that anything goes now. Now Israel's justified, and now so was your imprisonment. And now if they throw you in jail again, I don't want to hear a fucking peep. Man, I was a supportive one. I was that guy, man. You know how many hits? Do you know how many people criticized me for defending them when they were in jail? You remember that, Andew Tate, Tristan Tate? How much I was speaking up, talking about how this was unfair? Because I don't believe that might is right. I believe right and wrong. Oh, Sneako's this moral police. He's a crybaby. He thinks he's Gandhi. I saw what happened. I saw that it was unfair. But now you're saying might is right. So you realize how stupid that makes everybody who defended you look? If they can throw you in a jail cell for whatever they want, you just got to say, yes, master.
Crimes exclusive.
No, but Sneako is cooking right now, because like you said, if might is right, you can't be mad when a nigga come stronghold you up out your bed and throw you in the jail cell. You can't even really question it. You really have to say yes, master, because might is right. If you can't fight back, you don't got the army to stop the people coming to get you, then how are you? Then you got to do what they say. Yeah. So I definitely, this is going to be a tough little, if they ever have a debate about this would be a nice, tough little debate, because I have to say I agree with Sneako, because if might is right, then I think we're fucked. We are fucked.
Massa?
Because it is the law. It's the sheriff in town.
Yeah, why does he understand that the question?
So what happens if we're not the mightiest then? Like, are we just fucked? Do we just be fucked? Okay. So that's what I'm saying. It's like we have to keep up this strength of the mightiest all the time so that we don't get fucked, but it's fucking us.
Question is whether or not they have the correct motives. What supersedes this really surface level argument that might is right and America's so strong they can do what they want? Do they have the best interests of the people? Because America, it's written that it's by the people and for the people. That's what it's all about. Is that what's happening right now? Is this by the people, for the people, or are they doing it for other reasons? Yes, they have the capability to put regime change in all the countries they want. They can bomb the third worlders that you're making fun of. But the reason that we have a voice and we have a podcast is not to big up the powers that be. They don't need it. It's to fight for what's right. Duh. That's why people supported Andew Tate, because he was speaking up against the system. He was speaking up against the powers that be. That's why we have free speech. That's why we have democracy, is so that we could figure out right from wrong, what's fair, the exchange of ideas. The fact that I need to spell this out is incredible. Like, how did we get to a point where podcasts and people speaking up are now just simping and caressing and, oh, yes, yeah, they're happy with slavery now? This is a Stockholm syndrome. I didn't expect to see this quickly.
Your opinion on it doesn't really matter. And the opinion of other countries doesn't really matter unless they're prepared to fight over it. And guess what? Nobody wants to fight America. So they are the fucking law. Law is bullshit. The whole premise that we're going to pass a bunch of laws and all these countries filled with full-grown men and guns and nuclear weapons, all who want the same shit, are going to join together in unison, holding hands, singing Kumbaya, standing around in the fucking United Nations building and have a long discussion about who gets what, and we're all going to be friends. If I put a pile of money in the middle of a room and got 1,000 strangers and said, let's work out who gets what, and one guy was bigger than the others, and another guy needed more than you because he was about to die of cancer, and if he didn't get more, he couldn't afford his chemo.
Am I insane, or do you guys see it, right? It's like the fact that he's missing it. Money is the root of all evil, right? Greed is the root of all evil. We know what money is based on. It's not based off of anything tangible right now. It's certain people that are control and are able to manipulate the entire world because they control currency. If money is the root of all evil, which everybody understands, then why would you continue to push and advocate for that system? Why would you support it? Am I saying something insane? Because I notice a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of talking heads, a lot of people, the atmosphere is kind of strange right now. A lot of people are apprehensive to speak up because they're trying to figure out what other people are saying and where they should.
Nah. Like I said, I agree with Sneako, man. It's hard to I want to stay based in reality and say, yes, we have to take this oil because if Israel acts up with Iran, we are going to be fucked because they're going to take their oil because that's where we get most of our oil from. It would just be a smart move. It would be a smart move to help America, but it wouldn't be the best move to help America, if that makes sense. That wouldn't be the best move to help America. The best move to help America is to redo America. We would have to redo the whole. We need regime change. The fuck, like we would need a whole we would have to and not even like a regime change. Well, yeah, literally like a regime change. Like just restart the whole government, re-elect people in the government, re-elect the president, re-elect everybody, and make sure we didn't put anybody in there that isn't America first. So I feel like that's what we really need. We don't really need to be invading Venezuela because that doesn't help us long term. That's like a short term fix that's like you putting duct tape on a goddamn leak. Like that shit is not gonna work.
Position themselves. Dude, you're an idealist, not a realist. This is the world. I understand that this is the world. The difference between...
And that's why that's why, like I said, I gave y'all both perspective because I understand reality. I understand that if we don't want to be stepped on, we have to do the stepping. But how long can we keep up with this stepping? Is the real question. How long can we keep stepping on somebody's? How can we step on everybody's neck and they not care? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, how long can we do that?
Me and Tate is that he is encouraging and advocating for an evil system, and I'm saying that, yeah, like we're in control. We are slaves, but we should do our best to try to speak up and fight against it, or else why are you here? Do you want to be a slave, or do you want to try to break free of this system and fight for what's right? Isn't this what this is all about? I'm not trying to come off like a martyr or like someone, but that's what the point of speaking is. That's why we have podcasts. That's why we do this. Let's look at it on a grander scale. Is there going to be world destruction, World War III? Probably. Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be China, Russia, US, Israel. Yeah, eventually it's going to happen. There's not much we're just people. What can we do to stop it? But while we're here, you're supposed to do as much as you can. You're supposed to fight for what's right anyway. We have free will. Are you going to choose to promote evil or promote good? That's the difference. And that's what his whole platform was about. Good versus evil, right? The matrix, the system. It's incredible that I'm seeing him abandon or seem to forget about it that quickly. Like, yeah, there's going to be inevitably, yeah. Sure. The Antichrist, all this stuff, you can get biblical or talk about the end times. I'm not a religious scholar or anything, but you can see where this is going. Still, with the time that you have here, do what you can to do the right thing. Isn't it really that simple? And having a...
Yeah, but that's why when they captured Maduro, I was like, what the fuck? Because, again, when we was watching Myron talk about the Ukraine situation at Ohio State, like I said, we cannot feel happy when we go and capture Maduro and say, yeah, fuck yeah, America. And then when Russia wants to go fuck up Ukraine because that used to be a part of Russia, they can't say fuck yeah, Russia. It's again identity politics. We cannot be like, yeah, America can do this and then be mad when Russia do some shit. For example, like I was talking about on Wednesday, China's coming for that Taiwan. Okay, you heard it here from me. China is coming for that Taiwan. But how do we say no? How do you just say no and that's their land? It's theirs. It's legit theirs. And again, how many necks can you step on before everybody wants to step on yours? Like, I don't know how many people watch the shows or the movies, but the people who usually run, or even history, the people who usually run with an iron fist usually get iron fisted. All right?
A doomer mentality, giving up like that, it allows anything to go. By submitting to might is right, then yeah, you can take the gambling deal, huh? Doesn't matter. Everything's fucked anyway. Might as well take it. Why would you promote something good when everything's gonna be fucked? I might as well promote gambling. I might as well start an OnlyFans agency. I might as well scam and steal and fuck over and rob and murder. Everything's fucked anyway. Why don't I just do whatever I want? Go outside and rob a bank and hurt people. But you're not supposed to do that. He's ignoring it. When you talk about the American empire, you can't also talk about the Israeli empire. He knows this. We know this. Some people will say you're obsessed about it, but it's obvious. It's not an obsession with Israel. It's just, it's clear what's going on. They subverted our government. They control us completely. We are pretty much a colony for Israel. Everything that America does, all of the foreign policy is intrinsically tied to Israel's. And they can do what they want to us. They can bomb the USS Liberty. They can hide information. They can put spies and espionage. They don't care about us. But we have to be their greatest ally while we benefit zero. We don't get anything from Israel. When we go to Iraq and deploy troops there, does Israel put in one troop there? No, they didn't put any. They say our greatest ally. They don't benefit us whatsoever. The American empire is the Israeli empire currently. That's not an obsession. That's factual. Look at recent history. Look at the government. Look at who they have allegiance to. Look who's financing them. Look who Trump's taking money from. He was just on stage. Mark Levin put his arm around him and he said, "You're the best Jewish president." And he says, "Yes, I am." Miriam Adelson gets on stage and says, "I'll give you another $100 million if you disobey the Constitution and run for a third term." And he's like, "Maybe I will. Maybe I will." And Netanyahu is making him push in the chair. It's clear who's in charge. PBD can say that Trump is the most alpha in the room. Who is Trump's boss? Who is his daddy? Are we all blind to this? Is it any other leader that's bitching Trump around the way Israel is? And not just Trump, almost everybody in charge. Almost the entire government. The small few, there's like what, Thomas Massey is one of the few. I thought Tulsi Gabbard was one of the good ones, and then she completely switched. In 2019, Tulsi Gabbard was saying that regime change in Venezuela is a terrible idea, and now she's in support. Like Thomas Massey is like one of the only ones in government right now that is not submitting. That's not a simp slave for Israel. Everyone else is. Tate's ignoring this fact for some reason, even though he knows and he's aware and he's called this out before. For him to turn a blind eye because of Venezuela because he's excited about Blackhawks is stupid.
Forget this bullshit about law.
No, I definitely. It's only like 5 more minutes left. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I definitely agree with Sneako on this one, and I usually don't agree with Sneako on some of the stuff he says. On a lot of the stuff he says, because usually, especially since he's a Muslim, he views some things differently. But yeah, this I'm gonna have to say it's like I said, it's a hard say because do you want to keep the hegemony right now? Yes, you want to keep it's all about complacency and comfortability, all right? Nobody wants to lose their comfortability. Nobody wants to lose their this is a nice life feeling. They don't want to lose that. Like, nobody wants to lose that. So that's what it really comes down to when they talk about that. It's nobody wants to lose their comfortability, so they're not going to do it. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to do anything. They're going to celebrate. Yeah, let's do this, because they don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't want to lose the comfortability of America, regardless of how horrible our government has been subverted or how bad our religion has been disrespected. They want to keep America. They want life to keep going nice and dandy. And unfortunately, it has to get a little rocky before it gets better. So I'm gonna have to agree with Sneako on this one, Tate. I'm sorry, but damn, if might is right, then the Matrix is right, and you kind of just have to submit. That's why it's like might can't just be right, but in nature, might is right. But it's like I want to say we're kind of past that, but like I said, Tate made a good point when he said, if these niggas are just gonna steal it, why shouldn't we just take it first? Which is understandable, because again, we don't want to be the ones with the foot on our neck, but putting our neck on everybody's foot, how long does that last? But yeah, let's get into this. Let's finish this. Nick and Joel Webbon, the world of Jewry. We have 20 more minutes left. Yeah.
The post-war consensus, because the last thing that you said just then, this battle has been continuing on and on since World War II. If you were to define the post-war consensus, how would you define it? And what was the major shift from before and after World War II? Because America, the whole entire West, has never been the same.
Well, I would say it's all basically a reaction to Nazism. And it's this idea that never again, that's the mantra, never again.
The open world society, we can't let again Nazism run rampant, because if that happens again, it's gonna it's another Holocaust. No.
Never again will we allow a Hitler to come to power and to prosecute a Holocaust against the Jews or the gypsies or the gays or the disabled or whoever, the enemies of the state. And so you start to get all these different books like The Open Society. You start to get books like The Authoritarian Personality. And they start to try to dissect, how did a country fall under the sway of a charismatic, totalitarian, fascist leader that not only committed a genocide and made death camps with gas chambers, so the story goes, but also militarism. They declared war on the entire world and brought the world to the brink of a catastrophe, or really they killed 100 million people effectively. And what they work out basically is, we cannot have hierarchy. We cannot have an exclusionary nationalism, cannot have the kind of unity that they had in Nazi Germany, they say, is what created that. The kind of pride and race, nation, God, that kind of cohesion, that leads necessarily to exclusion, necessarily to persecution. And so you get this consensus after World War II. How do you prevent the Nazis from happening? We have to open up society. We have to make a society where tolerance,
we tolerate everybody, every race, every culture, every religion, we come on in, open. Whatever you need, we got you. And what that does is it leads to people like Paul, like Gypsy and HT and Nick, who are extremists on the right, because with all the diversity, you start losing the identity of your country. And the people who are native, well, not native, but the people who are Americans don't want to lose the American identity, just like the people who are Iraqian or Iranian or Indian or Asian don't want to lose their identity.
Multiracialism, religious pluralism, that has to be the new doctrine. And so that is the biggest shift, because, I mean, you could say during World War II, you have the German-American Bund take over Madison Square Garden with giant portraits of George Washington. We didn't want to go to war with Germany. We wanted to stay out of it. The idea that we wanted to go to war with Germany to stop fascism, we got bombed at Pearl Harbor. That's why we went to war.
Right.
America did not want the war, and certainly not for ideological reasons, certainly not to free the world from racism. But yet they use that as a founding myth to kind of create this new world based on these sort of Atlantic liberal principles.
Right. What you were describing of, giving way to inclusivism and diversity and open borders and all those kinds of things. Did you ever read Reno? His
R.R.
book?
Reno, yeah.
Yeah, Return of the Strong Gods.
Mhm.
Did you read it?
No, but I'm
okay.
familiar with the argument.
Yeah. What do you think about that concept?
I think it's totally true.
I think it's true too. Yeah, it was one of the better books that was kind of my introduction to the post-war consensus. And
Right.
it's basically when people, they're like, what, what's this magical word? Like the James Lindsays of the world, they don't like it. What's the post-war consensus? And it's like, it's the answer to why America can't have nice things.
Right.
Why can't we have nice things? Because Hitler.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. That's about as far as it goes, is that if we actually care for the native citizens of the country, if we actually want to promote their welfare for the good of us and our posterity, right? The founders didn't do it for India. They did it for, their children's children. And if we actually, keep the wishes of the founders and we keep the demographics of America to actually be Americans, then somehow that automatically just lends towards gas chambers,
Right.
which is insane. But that's become like the founding myth that everything else has been built upon. I mean, you think of just the number of Hollywood films.
There's a Harbor Freight store in your neighborhood where we sell hardworking tools that always
in the last 80 years surrounding, the Holocaust or World War II. And I mean, it's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of writing, a lot of effort has gone into, to really building upon, and solidifying this myth that that Hitler was the worst person to ever live. And that fascism is the scariest thing that there's ever been. And I, you and I would probably differ on that. Like, I don't think Hitler was a Christian. Do you think he was a Christian?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, I don't think that he was a Christian. I think he used a lot of Christian rhetoric, which makes sense because I think most of Germany was Christian at the time, and Lutherans, Martin Luther being a German. But I think that Germany was a great nation. I mean, but you look at like Weimar Germany in the 1930s, and it's like, such a terrible place. They honor women who are mothers, and you get property taxes shaved off if you're bearing. I mean, it's like, it's actually pretty good, and like, we won't tolerate pornography in our schools, and those kinds of things. And I think, Hitler capitalized on a lot of what was already there, groundswell. Like this sense of like, by God, we'll have our home again. That was kind of what was going on. So I don't think he was a Christian. I don't think he was the last Christian prince. But at the same time, I just don't find it compelling that he's the worst guy ever. And I also think that just because I'm old enough at this point, like I know just from things that are said about me, I think, one, the atrocities that happened, I think that they were probably not as bad as we've been told. And two, the real atrocities, the things that happened that were valid or legitimate, some of them may be directly tied to Hitler, but then some of them were probably also instances where Hitler was like, yeah, you need to banish these people. And then someone, close to Hitler was like, banish, wink, wink, like, and then they go off and, I mean, it's entirely plausible that he didn't even know necessarily some of the things that were going on. But regardless of all of that, the point is, to make
only guys, the Red Cross counted 271K, and people were starving because, again, that's why Germany was losing the war, because they were running out of resources. And then people were bald because of the typhus going around. That's another reason why people were dying too. It's because of the typhus going around the camps. And also the gas chambers. Gas chambers had doors that locked on the inside. So you could not lock the door from the outside. So if the door locked from the inside, that means they couldn't lock them in.
To make the entire foundation, like the foundation for the West was Christianity. And I think that's what I want my listeners to understand, is that really was replaced by, instead of for Christ, it became against Hitler.
Right.
And I think that the spell is breaking. Do you sense that?
I do.
I feel like the spell is breaking. And I think part of it is freedom of speech and social media platforms, the internet, and all this, 4chan, like all these things. But I think part of it also is just time. Like time has to go by. And it's kind of like Hitler reminds me of Napoleon a little bit, right? There's like, with certain figures like that really did do some bad things. Like I'm not a Hitler apologist. I think that Hitler did some bad things. But right on the heels of that, it's usually demonizing. And then, you'll start to kind of get pushed back, because there'll be a new generation that's doesn't have any of the nostalgia or the sentiment. I think of like Gen Z. I think we're kind of like right there. And so you go from like demonizing, and then you usually have a brief moment of lionizing. So like Hitler's our guy. He's the best, like pictures of like Jesus and Hitler hugging each other, and having like, but then what eventually happens kind of inevitably in history is humanizing, right? So demonizing, lionizing, humanizing. And tales old as time, just rinse and repeat. And I feel like that happened with Napoleon. Like we can now talk about Napoleon and nobody's like going to threaten, Napoleon laws to throw you in prison because you said something positive about Napoleon. But at the same time, you don't have like a ton of like, young people, with like Napoleon t-shirts and like Napoleon is the last Christian prince. Like you don't have either. You're removed enough to where you can be objective. It's hard to be objective when you still have, living remnants of people who were there, Now, as far as it pertains to the Holocaust, I think we'll always have living remnants. I feel like every year there's more Holocaust survivors. Yeah. So I don't know if that generation will ever die. They keep cropping up, but eventually,
and that's so crazy. They say 6 million died, but it's always a survivor somewhere.
Informed that eventually nobody will remember firsthand. And you might have a brief, lionizing spell where people are just kind of, because they're just sick of it and they're angry, they're just mad. And I get that. It's like, really? Like I can't own a home because of this guy on the other side of the world from 80 years ago? Well, then that's my favorite guy, like,
right.
And you're just kind of like a rebellion thing. But I think we're close. I think we're maybe, 10, 20 years out from being able to talk about Adolf Hitler in a humanizing, not demonizing, not lionizing, and being objective and saying, yeah, this was really bad, really bad. Also, yeah, this guy over here was way worse. Stalin was way worse, and I think that we have to get there. Not
and that's what's so funny, guys. Stalin was worse than Hitler, but guess who the U.S. was helping?
Hitler needs to be memorialized, but because we need to be able to have nice things again. Like the West needs to be allowed to have nice things, and we can't. You can have nice things and not like Hitler, but you can't have nice things and think that hierarchy, authority, heritage, you can't hate those things and have you can't have a country.
Right.
So we have to get to the point where we're able to be objective and say, hey, you know what, these things that the German people were after, not just Hitler, but the German people, they weren't stupid, right? That like they got behind him for a reason. They weren't stupid and they weren't just bamboozled. There were real atrocities going on, and they were on the brink of like losing their society, losing their people. And they said enough. And I'm like, yeah, I see the similarities. Of course, this is coming back up as a conversation. And I think we need to be able to have it. And I think we should be able to look at Weimar Germany and say, what did they do right? Anything that's good. Like I said one time in a podcast, I was like, here's my take, crazy. I support everything that Hitler did that was biblical. And I do not support everything he did that was like, I can say that for Stalin. I can say that for Genghis Khan. Like that's my position for everyone in the world. Like you can look at someone and say, this was good, and we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think for 80 years, that's what we've done. We've thrown the baby out with the bathwater because Hitler did some things that really were bad. We've decided, and therefore we need to have, infinite immigration And if you're white, you're kind of a monster, and we're going to ruin our economy and rack up the debt and do this and do that. And so we've got to be able to break the spell.
Yeah.
But the neocons, it's the left is terrible, but I don't know. It's in some sense like the enemy that the enemy that's obvious is less threatening in some ways, but the enemy that's like in the house with you, smiling, and then you go to sleep and they're standing over your bed with a knife like that. That enemy is really daunting, and I feel like neoconservatism. That's what it is. It's the enemy that poses as your friend.
Yeah.
But maybe I should say that's what it was recently. Was not so much today. I feel like they really are showing their colors.
I would say that it's a little bit more subtle now, because what I will give them credit for is they're very crafty. They're very capable. And because you're right, no one would identify as a neocon today unless they're being edgy, unless they're trying to be provocative. They say, I am a neocon. I think Bush was good, actually. And I've seen that. I've seen that from centrist liberals. I've seen that from some on the right. But they know what they're doing. They know it's a negative connotation. So no one is really identifying as like a proud neocon. There's no neocon conference. But if you look at what the neocons did in every generation, they married the pro-Israel interest with the conservative cause. It's like in the 80s, did they say we need to defeat the Soviet Union because they support Egypt? No, they said the Soviet Union is an empire of gulags and slavery, and we need freedom to ring everywhere. And that was the basis. In the 2000s, did they say we need to go to war with the Palestinians to make Israel safe and destroy Saddam Hussein because he's going to bomb Israel again? No, they said this is a clash of civilizations. America's a crusader state, and we have these adversaries. They're non-state actors. They're terrorists, and we need to fight the terrorists. We need to go over there and fight them there so we don't have to fight them here. And it mirrored, think about like in the 80s, the aesthetic was the city on a hill, the liberal empire versus the evil empire, Soviet Union. In the 2000s, think about the imagery. It was the crusader state. We had the unipolar moment. We're the most powerful country. We're going to be this like benevolent crusader that goes in the Middle East and liberates the Muslims from their tyrannical leaders. In the 2020s, we're getting a new version of that. And what it is Yoram Hazony's virtue of nationalism.
I was going to say, it's not the neocons anymore, but when you described it for a moment and said, nobody's proudly labeling themselves a neocon, but it's those who marry American interests with Israeli interests.
Yes.
And I was thinking, Yoram is being more specific, but in a general sense, you could say, yeah, it's not the neocons anymore because they're not needed. It's MAGA.
Yes. And
that got him turned. Yes! He said this nigga gets it.
And specifically, because MAGA is not a properly defined ideology. It doesn't really mean anything. So who is left the task of defining it? It's like the think tanks, intellectuals, usual suspects. And so you get someone like Yoram Hazony, who he founds the National Conservatism Conference. Okay, so now it has a name. We're National Conservatives. And that kind of, they're trying to capture the mood of the moment. Because what do you call a Trumpist, a MAGAite? Like there's not a demonym. There's not a name for it. So they said, well, we're national. They don't want to say nationalist. They don't like that. They don't want to say America first for obvious reasons. So they say, we're national conservatives. We're going to give it a label. And people like the label because they say, yeah, I'm like a nationalist. I guess I'm a national conservative. I support industrial policy. I support the Jacksonian foreign policy of Trump. And so Yoram founds the conference. They have a name. They've got a conference. He writes the book. They've got a book with the doctrine, the virtue of nationalism. And nationalism's still like a dirty word. People equate that with World War II and like chauvinism or racism or colonialism or militarism or jingoism. And Yoram Hazony says, well, no, there's something good about nationalism. And he's coming at it from the point of view, of course, he's a Jewish nationalist. He's an Israeli. He lives in Israel. He's a Jew. He's a follower of Meir Kahana, who's a rabbi that says that all goyim should be enslaved or killed. He's a fan. He's a Kahanist. He's a fan of this guy. And so when he says he's a Jewish nationalist, he means that there should be an Israeli state explicitly Jewish, demographically Jewish. It should be like a Jewish fascist state. Like, and if you know the history, many of the early Zionists.
That's what's so funny. Everybody wants to have their own state, but when they come to America, no, America got to do what everybody else do. Get the fuck out of here. Go take your funky ass back.
Some of them were sympathetic to the Nazis. They were National Socialists, and they wanted for Israel what the Nazis had in Germany. They wanted an aggressive, militant, chauvinistic Jewish nationalism in Israel. Guys like Zeev Jabotinsky, who knew Leo Strauss. They founded the Irgun, the Haganah, the original security apparatus that preceded the state of Israel.
And turned it to the idea of
and anyway, so
the original terrorist gangs of
Virtue
Israel.
Nationalism book, National Conservatism Conference, and it hosts all of the like Trumpist Republicans like Josh Hawley, who's railing against like porn companies and like high interest credit cards. And they invite Marco Rubio and JD Vance and Ron DeSantis. And
Well, hold up real quick. You say it like he's railing against. I like that.
I do too.
Okay.
But here's what I'm saying.
I'm
is
hearing like porn and usury. He's against that. That sounds good.
no, and I like it. But what I mean is but who owns the stage? Who
Yeah.
owns the venue? It's
Yeah.
like, just like with Reagan, just like with Bush, the Israelis are sort of drafting behind the tip of the spear, which is led by like the far right conservatives.
In terms of drafting, I can speak to that a little bit. It does seem like, just practically speaking, the play is kind of it's not overt, and it's not even inherently wrong. But it does seem like there's an intention. It's kind of like scouting. It really is. Drafting is a good word, but like kind of scouting, but exclusively on the right and looking for kind of rising stars and guys who might be key players and have some potential. And they're starting to build, get a little traction, build a following. And so then, it's a phone call, or, you reach out and email, hey, can we do a phone call? Something like that. And then the next stage is an all expenses trip paid to Israel, these sponsored trips. And I know guys that, that I like who have been on the trips, and some of them come back and been all of a sudden positive about Israel. Others have come back and haven't appeared to change at all. And a couple have come back and, just kept right on J posting. Calvin Robinson, God bless him.
Yeah, right.
So he was like, I'll take this, the paid trip, and then came back and like the Jews. And I was like, my man, but I have noticed it's kind of like, if you're kind of a rising star on the right, you get a phone call. He got the call is a real thing. You get the call, then you get the trip, and then you get the invite to speak at NatCon. And that doesn't mean that all of so therefore anyone who's ever spoken at NatCon is bad. But my point is but it does seem like an intentional play to kind of capture, or at least so that we just at least want to keep an eye on him, so that every potential right wing, guy who could end up being like America First, who could end up being like you, we have our hand on him.
Yes, and they do that. But I'm speaking specifically like to their ideology. The way they craft the ideology, like my point is they recognize that nationalism is in vogue. Like everyone knows the evangelical dispensationalists are not cool.
Yeah. Right.
There's no young people that are into that are like, we love Israel at like the mega church. Like that's out.
Yeah, it's done.
And the neocons are out. The like cowboy, we're going to kill us some terrorists. Like that's out too. What's in is like Nietzsche, nationalism, vitalism, like bodybuilding, aesthetics. Like they know in some ways they've created that too, but they know that's the mood of the moment around Trump. And so what they're doing is they're identifying, like they have in the past, the pro-Jewish politics with the mood of the moment. And so, for example, when Israel was bombing Hamas, I saw Darren Beatty, who is Jewish, and I probably agree with him on most things maybe because he's pretty based generally. Darren Beatty's also a Jew, and like he's got a weird background. Like he grew up on Kiribati or one of these like islands in the Pacific. They're always international. They're never like born in America, you know, or like Iowa. But Darren Beatty, that's just like a little disclaimer. Jewish guy. He runs Revolver. He's in the State Department now. He was in the first Trump admin. Beatty said, well, Hamas is like the BLM of Israel. And so when Israel's bombing the hell out of Hamas, that we should like that because they're like BLM. And then he said, we need to kick out all these students protesting Israel because the students protesting against Israel were the same ones doing BLM. And you see how it's like, oh, if I hate BLM, I hate Hamas too. I'm an anti-BLM and Hamas conservative. Just like how back then you'd say, oh, if you hate Al-Qaeda, you need to be against the Palestinians. If you're against the Soviet Union, you need to be against Egypt. Like it plays out this way, and it's so subtle because they're good at this. And this is where you have people, even when Trump was bombing Iran, you had all of these national conservatives, many of them saying, I think it's good that we're bombing Iran. We should bring back the Persian monarchy. That would be based. And it's like you're advocating for the most neocon, like pro-Israel. I talk about a pro-Israel policy, regime change in Iran. That's like the definition of like an ambitious pro-Israel policy. But they're not calling it neocon. They're pretending it's based. And here were some of the qualifications. They said, well, strictly speaking, the neocon ideology.
Nick is definitely cooking right now because exactly what he said.
I'm gonna need a new headlight, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like the Soviet Union, so you don't like Soviet. You don't like Egypt either. Yeah, we don't like. We sure don't like. What's it called? The fuck did this nigga just say? We sure don't like BLM. But if you don't like BLM, you don't like Hamas either, right? They do the same thing, right? Right? And he's looking like this. Yeah. You see? So if you don't like BLM, it's like you don't like Hamas. See, we're on the same team. I see. Yeah. Fucking genius.
Properly understood as like democratic globalism, as Charles Krauthammer said. He said, we're going to confront anti-democratic regimes where it counts and when it's in our interest. And coincidentally, that was in Iraq, you know, but like the idea behind neoconservatism was we're going to plan a democracy.
And that's why I don't like the Venezuelan shit, because at the end of the day, again, Venezuela was not trying to be under the dollar. They were trying to get under BRICS. Venezuela was not trying to be under the dollar. If Israel goes to war with Iran and oil runs out, guess who runs out of oil too? Not only just us, because we have a huge ass nation and we have reserves. Even though we are running low on our reserves, we have a bigger nation than Israel. Guess who's gonna run out of oil first? Dumb niggas. So if they're fighting Iran and they run out of fucking resources, guess who's gonna get fucked? Them niggas. So guess who really was getting oil from Venezuela? Dumb niggas. You're welcome.
Perfect.
We're going to do regime change, and then we're going to nation build and make Iraq a democracy, because then they'd be our ally.
Yeah, we want to attack. Let's attack Venezuela, because Iran is about to take our oil.
And then other countries would be democracies and so on. So when they agitate for war in Iran, they're saying it's not neocon, because we're not going to make them a democracy and we're not going to nation build. We're just going to regime change into a based Persian monarchy. And it's like, okay, but it's the same thing, like realistically. So this is how they evolve over time. And that's why I say it's kind of important to understand the kind of genealogy and some of the pedigree here of the neocons, because it's not the same, but it rhymes. It echoes. Right. It's a sort of what's the word for it in music? I don't remember it, but it's the
double entendre. Let me see. I think that's what he means. Because I'm a fucking genius. With two meanings, one innocent and the other often risque. I think that's what he was saying, right? Yeah, listen.
same bit. What's the word for rhymes? It echoes. It's a sort
it's a
of
double entendre.
What's the word for it in music? I don't remember it, but
nah.
But it's the same bit played over and over again.
Yeah, a tag. It seems like, you know, it changes, but the common denominator, from what I hear you saying, is at its heart, it's still Israel first.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's whatever, you know, and trying to make it sound like it'll also be good for America, but it's America is still the leftovers.
Right.
We'll make this as good for America as it possibly can be, so long as Israel gets what it needs.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, great episode. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the history lesson. There's a lot to unpack there.
Nick was definitely, they were both cooking in this episode, but I appreciate, like I said, I like this episode because he let Nick talk a little bit more than the first episode, because the first episode, this nigga was running his damn mouth. But we definitely got Nick talking a lot more this episode, which was what we appreciated, because this is the whole point of the interview, is we want to hear what Nick has to say. Duh. So yeah. And we ran over our time on stream, which was perfect. So, yep, not bad at all. We shall get to Myron's ignorant woman nonsense on Monday. Nothing too crazy. Had a nice stream today. You know, we only go for an hour. I don't like wasting anybody's time, but I like showing everybody what's going on. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. We will sure be live Monday. Hope everybody has a good and happy Friday. I will see y'all boys Monday. Peace.
The bitch shaking it, showing it. You this, you that. We laughing at them together. Oh! So stop treating these like they mean something.
Let's go.